J.R.R. Tolkien and H.P. Lovecraft are often viewed as opposite poles of speculative fiction. Tolkien is the father of noble, high fantasy, while Lovecraft is the pioneer of weird, existential cosmic horror. Yet, beneath the surface, they wrote a few things that are shockingly similar. Is this a case of pure coincidence, or more accurately, a case of two brilliant minds drinking from the exact same literary wells? I think not. But it is valid to argue they were both able to agree, or perhaps inspired each other, regarding a series of references that they both wrote as if they collaborated in describing the same point. While their overall worlds are completely different, the overlap in their specific tropes is striking. Like House Greyjoy of the Iron Islands in A Song of Ice and Fire series with their drowned god, or the strange Patchface, often called Patches, by Shireen Baratheon. The most famous crossover in Tolkien and Lovecraft styles happens deep underground. In The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, published in 1954, Gandalf describes falling into the abyss beneath Moria, and I quote, far below the deepest delving of the dwarfs, the world is gnawed by nameless things. Even Sauron knows them not. They are older than he. Now I have walked there, but I will bring no report to darken the light of day. There is an exact phrase from H.P. Lovecraft that perfectly mirrors the Tolkien quote I had mentioned. It is a passage featured in The Horror at Red Hook, written in 1925 and published in 1927. In the original text, the quote conveys exactly that same idea about the depths of the earth. Deep below the deepest unnameable abyss, the world is gnawed by nameless things. But I will say no more to cloud the light of day. Who wrote it first? Lovecraft was older and published his core mythos much earlier than Tolkien published his masterworks. In my opinion, Tolkien was influenced or plagiarized Lovecraft, making a nod to cosmic horror, although there is very little overlap between them, as they lived an ocean apart and operated in completely different literary circles. However, it is registered that Tolkien did read Lovecraft at least once later in his life, and it is known because of a single letter from 1964. The American science fiction and fantasy author L. Sprague de Camp sent Tolkien a copy of his newly published anthology, Swords and Sorcery, 1963, a collection of early fantasy and weird fiction tales, and it included Lord Dunsany's The Distressing Tale of Thangobran the Jeweler, Robert E. Howard's Conan story, Shadows in the Moonlight, and H.P. Lovecraft's early fantasy story, The Doom That Came to Sarnath. Tolkien read the anthology and wrote back to the camp in a letter dated August 30th, 1964. Tolkien gave a broadly negative review of the anthology as a whole, expressing that he didn't much care. If seen as coincidence, Tolkien did not copy Lovecraft, and he almost certainly had no idea Lovecraft's work even existed when he wrote The Lord of the Rings. Lovecraft wrote for cheap American pulp magazines like Weird Tales. Tolkien was an elite, conservative Oxford professor in England who read ancient languages, medieval texts, and high literature. He also participated in World at War I. They may sound similar because they were both heavily inspired by the same older sources. Lord Dunsany and Norse mythology, being Tolkien a Norse scholar, If you want to read Lovecraftian cosmic horror blended with epic fantasy and sword and sorcery, I recommend searching for works made by R. Scott Bakker, more specifically The Second Apocalypse, The Darkness That Comes Before, Carl Edward Wagner's Gods in Darkness, Michael Moorcock's The Elric Saga, Elric of Melniboné, Laird Barron, The Imago Sequence, or Swords Against the Shadowland, both co-authored anthologies, and of course, Robert E. Howard's The Tower of the Elephant. What do you think about the relation between Lovecraft and Tolkien? Was it coincidence, plagiarism, or influence? I think he plagiarized.